Episode 60 of the CROM Updates, and I have Drawnsword with me for the ninth time. Drawnsword, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks, Kate.
And I have, just so everybody knows, Drawnsword's in New Zealand, so he has just woken up, and I'm on the U.S. side, and I'm about ready to go to bed. So it's always a good time.
Yeah,
It's always a good time.
yeah,
But the biggest news, your contribution to the CROM Anthology #1, which is your CROM Courageous story, 11 pages, scripted by Rom Parsons, who I've done a CROM update with. And so I got his story about these incredible pages that we're only going to tease a few from both our sides. I only have 4 pages printed out to give everybody a kind of a glimpse into your mastery in comic storytelling. But just want to remind everybody, cromthebarbarian.com has the U.S. distribution of Drawn Swords. Scoundrel's Dread, 32 pages, A4 drawings on A4 printed paper, nice card stock, intergalactic barbarian, bounty hunters, and 100 printed, signed and numbered by Drawn Swords. So we still have these available. I will be at IC3 in less than 2 weeks with what I have left. I have a feeling I'm going to be out of stock, which means we'll have to do some restocking. But you can just tell right here what you're getting when it comes down to Drawn Sword's mastery of the pencil and the absolute, I call it metal, bizarre, dark art concepts. So, other than that, how you feeling?
great, yeah. It's good to be back in the saddle drawing comics again.
so, so the thing that it's on my mind, question wise, is, and I have Rom Parsons' side of the story, but you were planning on doing a CROM story, and you saw, I guess, one of the interviews I had done with Rom Parsons, and you reach out to him as a writer. He's a writer type there. To get him to script for you. So give us the story on how that all came about and how did it end up working for the two of you.
Well, when you first asked me, do I want to do a comic for the anthology, I was like, oh, no, that's too much work. I haven't got time. I'm trying to get the Karnok finished,
Right.
and um, and then I got thinking about it, and I sort of came up with an idea in my mind of a story, just a quick sort of action sequence, and just have some kind of profound dialogue happening at the same time. And I scripted it out, the notes of what happened in the fight, just a big fight scene that lasted for 8 pages.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, this could actually just be a Karnok story. And so I sort of decided, oh, look, I'll just do 8 pin-up, sword and sorcery type pin-ups.
Yeah.
And then I got drawing them, and they sort of started turning into Karnok characters in different pieces from that. And then I thought, oh, why don't I just tell this other Karnok story? And then I was already drawing a Karnok story, so it became too much trying to draw 2 Karnok stories at the same time.
Right.
And I was hoping to alternate them. And then I caught that podcast where you were talking to Rom,
Mm-hmm.
and I read a story, and he sounded like he knew what he was doing. So I read his story, and I was like, wow, this is really good. Maybe I should throw him some bones of an idea I've got, and
Yeah.
just see what he comes up with. And I emailed him, and he got back to me and said, yeah, he'd be interested. And he came up with just an awesome outline, and I just continued to be blown away by how he comes up with it. And because I originally I just said, look, I got this idea of this giant that this village is feeding, and and the giant gives them protection, and it's like a farming village, and then the the giant starts eating the people, capturing them and eating them, and so word gets to Queen Tanit and CROM, and the people come to her actually. And, well, yeah, he came up with the whole story, but CROM's sent to kill the giant, and I threw in a couple of other ideas, and he's just spun the whole thing into this awesome epic story. That's going to be told in 3 chunks of 11 or more.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why, did he say anything about that?
Yeah. I mean, the version, he's doing you just as much justice as you are right now, which is, and I just have to say it once again, this is exactly what I mean by collaboration, a call for collaboration. The community, when it comes to getting people to collaborate on a CROM or CROM-centric story, doesn't have to be completely with me. I could, my part in this could be just getting these pages and getting them into the CROM Anthology. But you guys working out on your own, it's exactly why I set this up. We were just talking out right before we hit record. When you're working on your own, you get a lot of ideas. You have maybe constricted or small portions of time throughout your day because you have a job and work and some other social things that you enjoy doing. But when you're tied to a deadline, like I had for CROM Anthology 1, which was the end of February, and then somebody you're working with, it becomes a lot more serious, I think. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's like you've got someone to be accountable to,
Yeah.
showing where you're at, and because when you're working on your own, it's easy to put things off, and there's no deadline. You can just keep putting it off, and you're only telling yourself, come on, you got to get this done. But when you've actually got a deadline, it really makes you knuckle in and get it done.
Yes, and just so everybody knows too, is the CROM Anthology 1 deadline was the end of February, but that doesn't mean you have to wait for the next deadline in the next CROM Anthology. You can get working, you can get on the podcast. Time is of the relevant essence, but it's really just to keep undulating through. So Rom very much had he very much spoke to how awesome it was to collaborate with somebody like yourself. You had very solid ideas that were mobile, and then of course he was able to kind of pitch things towards you, and you got the little ping pong game going, and then you end up 11 pages of a 11-page story, CROM Courageous, so which will be revealed throughout the CROM anthologies. So I'm just so happy that you guys were able to get together and get this together. It just makes me feel a lot less crazy. But it's great. The pages. Did you do these A4?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay. Because I did have these. This is basically an A4 size. So
I actually drew them out first on separate sheets of paper. Did large thumbnails at size there, so I could, because I didn't want to go over 11 pages, so I had to kind of make everything fit. that was described, because the way I asked Rom was to give me a description of what happens on every page, not to describe every panel, but
Okay.
and I'll break it down and just wherever you need a face to be showing this or some action to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue, it's important for me to know the dialogue, how, if there's a lot or what's being said, so I can get it in the panel, because otherwise it just feels too tight, too overwhelming if you've got someone telling you to every single panel, describing every detail, I just can't work under that. So that was really nice to be able to work in that way, and I didn't want to break outside of well, at one point I actually thought I need to expand this scene more into another page, and then I was like, no, I don't want this to go on and on and on, because once I finish penciling the thumbs, and sometimes I'd have to go on another sheet of paper, and then I'd just measure it all, and that's why none of the work's got borders, because I was trying to use all the room I could.
Mm-hmm.
Gutters. That's why there's no gutters. But yeah, then I would have to trace it. I'd trace over it all, redraw it out, send it off to Rom. He would send me the text, and then when I went in with the inking, I would as I came across each page, I'd put in the dialogue, the captions, and the speech bubbles, and ink it. Worked like that. Yeah. One of the reasons why I delayed in getting back to you was because I wanted to keep a uniform look, and I knew I needed to go back and do some final touches with the inking, and I didn't want to send you any pages that I'm going to have to swap out. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you were emphatic about hitting the deadline, so there was just no. It was just me being very anxious to see what your, because I
yeah.
love your work. I'm a big fan of your work, and I love just diving into it. So
Oh,
but
cheers.
you stayed steady on that course. Do you want to show off some of the originals from your side? I just have these pinups, but I know you had a couple of pieces. Oh wow! Oh, all right, man.
It's,
And you're light boxing, right? You're using a
yeah,
light box. Cool.
yeah. The thumbnails. Well, there's that piece you were just had on there.
Right. I
That's
got
the
it.
thumbnail of it,
Wow. Okay.
and
Here it is. Here it is.
you'll see the last panel's a bit different, is it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
changed the format here. I made this one longer,
Yep.
and I also added him. See, I had him getting the key here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought, well, I can save a panel by having it in this one, and then
Ah.
made the. So it's actually quite a good way, because you come up with better ways of constructing it if you want to keep it tight. I've learnt a lot from that, because I've always gone straight into the page, as I kept saying to Rom that um, I'm so used to just taking as much room as I need, and so if I want 4 panels on a page, I just but I think one of the pages has got 13 panels on it. I think that was the highest I got.
Yeah. I do remember. Well, this one.
Yeah, that
This
might
is one,
be.
two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10.
Yeah, there's one more that's 13. That's the second highest one.
It's good stuff, man. It's good. Oh wow! Look at that. Yeah, you also have that. font styling. You know, oh wow.
Yeah, I played around with a few designs to get that one.
Mm.
Um, and
That page one.
yeah,
So the page you just showed, that's page 11, right? That's the marquee comes at the end of the 11 pages, right?
this one.
Yeah.
No, this is page 3.
Oh no, that's
Yeah,
page 3. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
yeah,
So you gave us a kind
yeah.
of a
They're
intro
all
of
in the
prologue,
name of the pieces. I've put the
prologue.
page number right at the beginning, so
Cool.
if you, yeah, it'd be most important to get that right. Have you read it?
I have, and
Yeah,
I love it. You know,
cool.
and that's another point that I want to speak to. Anybody interested in being involved? CROM is a public domain character, so I don't claim any ownership. I don't want to claim any ownership and put people off on what's going on. So when you do your own CROM, just like Rom and Drawnsword have done, it's theirs. They're just going to give me the permission to be able to put it in um, the CROM Anthology. And then, the idea I've been telling people is, there's 3 installments for this, 3 anthologies. And once those 3 anthologies are completed, then putting just a consolidated version of the book, the story with maybe some extra material and everything like that. So, and that can be completely done by the creators and the owners of that storyline, or maybe get something worked out through CROM the Barbarian and printing and distribution and everything. So, but it's just I just I want to say, like, I wish more people worked like you, drawn sword, but then I also get a little anxious, with the idea of like having too many people to be working with and what it is. Because right now it's a very nice just having. I think I'm at 13 contributors at this point. So and it's all at different points and levels and everything. But I also want you to talk about Karnok, which you were speaking about in the beginning, so people are clear that you have a lot of characters, you have a lot of stories, you have a lot of ideas. But Karnok has been basically one of your original characters that you're returning to.
Yeah.
Um, and what are the plans with Karnok? Are you just sort of plodding away at that, or
Well, I've got this story that I'm working on that
mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to this is
There
Karnok
he
here.
is. Yeah, there he is. That's sweet.
I've just redesigned his gears. I wanted him to look more the galaxy because he was looking a bit like he was out of,
Medieval
high,
times.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I've
the
given
high
him a bit
fantasy.
more
Yeah.
tech. So this is actually going to be the cover for it. Yeah,
And,
Karnok. I'm hoping it to be a 24-page comic. I was going to do a 32 like Scoundrel's Dread,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, I thought in smaller chunks will be easier. Like I've already done 24 pages, but I'm redoing them because like a lot of them were drawn 5 years ago. Because I
Right.
created Karnok in 2020, and he was kind of like an amalgamation of all these other characters I went through to arrive at him and then just get it right. He's basically this this character here is an Oghorn, and this terror of the galaxy that oppress, and that the Jasher warriors are a force that have been raised from different species throughout the galaxy to fight these Oghorn and eradicate us. Now Karnok is lost in a far away from home place, and he's lost his star map to get home. So his adventures start trying to find a map, because space travel's quite the knowledge of the routes and whatnot is limited, and so he encounters adventures along the way.
I'm recalling there is some connection with Scoundrels Dread's universe, right?
Yeah, it's in the same universe.
Right. Okay.
So it's a possibility he could cross paths with characters in there.
The bounty hunters and the baddies. The bounty hunters are.
Yeah. Well, that's first story I'm doing. He kind of takes on a bounty, but he's not really interested in the bounty. He's more interested in some other item that's involved. But he's not a bounty hunter, but he will take them on here and there. Yeah. So I just been working on the cover here, but I started redesigning a lot of scenes, like the location, the look of it, making it better. So I've already got the layout, so I'm just redoing it. So, and I'll probably and also editing out some pages that are unnecessary, moving panels over to other pages, that sort of thing. And confining it down to, like, the back page will be the last panel, like a full page. The back cover of the book will be the last page, so it'll actually be 23 pages of comic in a front cover. And the plan is to print it up old school style, where I'm actually going to do it on Bristol boards, so I can stick them onto sheets of A3, and then I can just take six sheets of A3 with 4 pages on each sheet, and just run them off the cheapest possible way, and
like zine style.
Yep, fold them and staple them myself, and they'll be lighter, so hopefully exporting's cheaper, and it'll take a huge cost off, hopefully. That's the plan, and having a shorter number.
I love the idea.
Yeah, it just sort of, you can get it out there and see what people think, and because trying to do a huge chunk in a long time goes by, and you can fizzle out. It's nice to get feedback as you're going.
Yeah, bite size I think is magical. I think also they being in contribution to an anthology, and you can get, and that anthology is working with let's say an established group of readers, and then, like I said, once you accumulate enough Karnok stories or CROM Courageous stories, then you just get another packaged, of those stories, and keep moving along, and then be able to listen to the feedback, to help navigate, where people are enjoying stuff, give them more of that, and then your experimentation time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the anthology is perfect too.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a 200 pages is what I'm shooting for. I mean, I do believe right now I'm in and around, if not a little bit over on that count. pretty much the same as my CROM collected. There'll be original work, there'll be some reproduction stuff, and then illustrated prose. And it's just going to be exciting. And there's also going to be a good portion of it. There'll be all artists contributing will get 2-page spread in the artist gallery. And then if I have some possible reprint material from stuff that is already a whole book somewhere that you can purchase, so then there'll be a page describing that, and then a QR code that you can zap and get straight from your phone to purchase a copy of that. So it's very exciting. So this is only 140 pages, 8.5 by 11 sword and sorcery goodness. So another 60 pages will be basically that anthology, CROM Anthology standard. So people feel like they have something. I always think of it in parse to Heavy Metal Magazine, or even Savage Sword, where it was like some of the stuff you didn't like, or you just didn't connect with. This wasn't a preference of maybe liking or disliking, but you didn't really connect with. But there was something definitely, there were other things in there that you were connecting to those issues in Heavy Metal and Savage Sword. So go from there. But other than that, do you have anything else that you wanna get into or show off?
It's just this. This was my sketch of CROM as a guide when I was drawing it.
That's great.
How I'd have him look. Yeah. Did Rom talk about the map?
No. Map?
Oh, we're working on a map. Yeah, I discovered. I got the one of the Conan the Barbarian trade paperbacks. It's the one, I think it's volume 3, the one that's where he sort of time travels back to King Kull's time. And in the beginning, It's got a big double-page map of, is it Volusia? Or Elaine? Yeah.
Volusia.
And I was just, what an awesome looking map, and it got me thinking about making a CROM map, an Earth's Morning map. And then I was looking through all of Gardner Fox's material, the 3 comic stories, and the Sharador, Warlocks of Sharador story, and I started writing down every place that's mentioned. And then, wow, there's a whole world. And so I passed it over to Rom and says, look, do you want to, find all these places and sort of put them in where they're described they are? And it's like finding a jigsaw puzzle, of this map.
Yeah.
And, so he's placing that, and we got this map of Pangaea, the world before it broke up. There's all these scientific sort of maps of how it might have looked. And there's one that's got this inland sea, because Gardner describes the inland sea, which it sort of fit that perfectly. And then, you've got all these clues like, what is it? Ophir sort of connects somehow through the jungle land in all these places. So you've got to kind of figure out which way the river would go and where it would start, where it would come out, because CROM's journey goes round by boat, in those first comics. And then the Sharador story, you get a full picture of the whole world, And so I think he's having a lot of fun finding all that. So when he's got it all placed out, I'll probably draw up a map, like a double
Oh man,
page
that sounds
map.
cool.
So either with the second or third installment, there will be a map, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I'm doing something similar. It's more back burner stuff when I do have the time. But I'm also incorporating Kothar's world, Kyric's world, and Nile of the Far Travels, because
Oh, wow.
there are similar. I don't want to say cities, but there's like kind of like references to one another. So the interesting thing is that I've kind of laid out from those four characters: Crom, Kyric, Kothar, and Nile. The first sort of place is Crom, and the reason I chose that is because of the sort of like dawn, the prehistory type of thing. And then Nile is very close to that, as then follows Kothar. Kyric is interesting because Kyric, as a sword and sorcery character, was entombed in a statue that a queen gets a hold of, tracks down and gets a hold of, and then conjures Kyric to come back. And he was a king, a bit. It was like a Beowulf king kind of thing, but like thousands of years. And it's almost like he was either at the time of Crom or before the time of Crom.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, yeah. But the way I've kind of left it right now, stewing, is like building the map and purposely leaving areas unknown. And so the map itself can become regenerative. In other words, people's stories are expanding, and they're doing the similar things to like you and Rom are doing. That information can get contributed to, going in there, because I think one of the interesting parts in, as a young guy daydreaming over the Hyborian age and the Conan of Samaria's world, the places that he always traveled, was definitely the knowing that at one point, he's in Katai, which is in the Asian side of the continent, and down in oh gosh, what was the or like traveling with Ballet, on the Ivory Coast, which was closer to like the African, it's just, I love the kind of signaling it gives, knowing Conan's history and the places, and then creating the relevance in that trekking about the face of that planet, that Earth, that from there. So I want to kind of keep that feeling that it's always, the characters are always moving around, Crom being one of them, and the stories are also hinged to where they are. And I just, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
So who's got the most stories outside of CROM from Gardner?
Kothar does. Kothar has 5 books.
Oh, wow. And so it
Yeah.
mentions some of the same places, does it?
Kind of. It's like he'll
Oh,
mix letters. He'll mix letters, but he'll make a similar reference to the north and the bay, and so you think. I always think like, oh, well, that could be. Damn it, what's the name of the bay that Kothar supposed? Because Kothar is an orphan child that washes up in a boat on, I want to say Bagunga Bay. I can't remember. I'll flash something up on the screen.
oh,
And then that village's king takes him on as a son, and then he leaves. He just, as a young man, leaves Kothar, and then starts doing mercenary work. And then the
oh,
way the whole thing starts out is he's on the losing side of a war, and he's running from basically the other side that wants to track him down because he was a commander, and he falls into a like through a door into a tomb, which a lich is in, which is Afgorkon, and Afgorkon helps him sort of like stay these soldiers from killing him, and then he gives him Frostfire. Afgorkon gives him Frostfire as a sword, but the sword, magical wise, is only based on the power of this. The power is based on Kothar not sort of misering wealth, so he can't use it to, just collect, booty and bounty. So he's always, the stories, he's moving away from great wealth so he can keep traveling on and
I
still
see.
possess
Yeah.
the magic of Frostfire.
So you're going to make it a comic, Kothar.
Yeah, I think, the whole reason for me setting up the Gardner Francis Fox Library was CROM, and I want to keep, when I work my CROM material, I do my best to keep leaning back into Fox's voice, and so the thing that kind of makes me it's like it's kind of like, so Kothar, Kyric, Nalafar Travels, even CROM is what's referred to as pastiche fiction. So in other words, all Fox writing Kothar was doing was reading Robert E. Howard stories, Cull and Conan and the like, and then taking chunks of those stories and then breaking them up and expanding them, and then just calling the character Kothar, barbarian swordsman.
Oh,
He's changed to blonde hair, so they call that pastiche fiction. So I'm thinking along the lines of doing pastiche fiction of pastiche fiction, but keeping the voice central to the CROM character. So the CROM character has would incorporate and hold all of those sort of storylines and connected paths. One of the other things too, I'm working with a photographer and a model on a deity that is transforming. The first story is going to be the deity is transforming into a female formed goddess, and its name Izthra, Izthra, and the idea that we've been bouncing around with is based on the goddesses in Kothar, Kyric, and Nile the Far Travels. In other words, all of those characters had a goddess that he worshipped to, and she always saved his ass in the tightest pot, where it came down to. So, but this deity is a little bit more on their own. It's not a benevolent deity. So I don't want to spoil anything on it. So because if it all plays out, it's going to come with a lot of extra material for people to play with. I'll put it out that way.
So would Kothar fit into a previous timeline or the similar timeline as CROM or later?
Oh
Or
yeah. Oh yeah,
what,
yeah. I mean, I
what,
believe all of them are all prehistoric. In other words, before we start forming a written history. So these were, like they say, Kothar, the first book's Barbarian Swordsman starts off with a thing where this is material that was found in a scroll, an ancient scroll that was prehistoric.
and Earth's
They
morning?
had to decipher.
But it would fit into Earth's morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Right.
and once again, it does go to, like you were saying with Pangea, um, you know, Lemuria, Atlantis, the
Yeah.
Egypt. These were all great civilizations that we can never really fathom how far they've gone back, and and cannot really deny they never existed because so many cultures have pieces within their mythology and their creation myth, all that leads back to people believing that that's Atlantis they're talking about, or Pangea, or Lemuria. So, um,
Yeah.
I definitely feel that Rob, Robert E. Howard was mythologizing from that base. So, because you get Cull, Conan, Bran McMorn, I think that's it. Yeah, and yeah, it becomes kind of cool
He
stuff.
he had another character, Howard, that was on another planet, eh? Doesn't his name start with A? I think
Fox
he
did,
was
or oh no, oh yeah, no,
Howard
Howard did, yeah, Amoric, yeah, but that's
Elmore.
the
Yeah.
yeah, Elmore. That's the like Edgar Rice Burroughs version of their version of John Carter Man of Mars.
Right.
So that's a human from our time that is flung into a bizarro, otherworldly space where then like
I'd
the
love to see
winged
that
creatures and
explored.
stuff.
Well, by
Have you?
Comico.
Yeah, it is. Conrad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I mean,
Yep,
it'd
yep, yep. Love.
be good if Titan went there. Signature heroes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I definitely agree. I feel we're in a place that we're very nostalgic as creators right now across the board. The nostalgia of look and sound and movement and feel, appearance, all these types of things. And then genre is kind of an easy way to find a place to fit your work into. So,
Yeah. One
fantasy is
of
the greater.
one of the things that another comic creator said to me, because I at first I thought, oh, CROM, he's a bit boring. He's just
I
like,
hear that a lot.
and then he made the comment that, well, he's kind of like an open slate, and it's kind of like you
Yes.
get to do Conan, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
you do.
thought about it, and I thought, yeah, right, because he doesn't want to draw Conan, you know.
Yeah.
And because he's such an open slate, you could make an origin about his sword. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of things you can do. You've got this whole jigsaw map throughout
Yep.
Gardner's, the whole springboard for everything's there. He becomes a
Yep.
king quite early, and I like the idea of him being a king because it gives him responsibility, gives him a greater cause than just himself, and so you can put more stakes in the story.
Well, and that's why I did my previous incantation of him, um, in jungle man form, and then he does get
Yeah,
Skullbiter as a magical store, but he doesn't have he's very ignorant. He's not stupid or dumb. He's just very ignorant to the world around him. And he's emerging. I mean, I peg him at about 16. I kept thinking of him as about 16 to 17 years old, in these stories where his sister's actually older than him, Lala, and they're not. I don't find they're not blood, because he very much like Kothar is shipwrecked, which is a story I'm working on right now to help explain him how he's been shipwrecked in my
is
version
she
of Crump.
of Acer or
Yes, yes, yeah,
five?
and that would be yeah, and
But
then they
she's
have
not.
this.
She's not actually his sister.
No, not in my version. Not,
Oh,
but
I
they
see.
still hold themselves in relation. Um, like her father, basically treated him as a son, and like once again, this is going back to the Kothar thing, where I'm leaning back into how that all comes. But he doesn't have a sister. Kothar doesn't have a sister, so this is just these jigsaw pieces, like you were saying, putting them putting them together and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, I think that's fun. I mean, I also love. I've fallen in love with the idea of very small chunks dealing with some aspect of CROM's world in very small chunks, and even
Yeah.
from different and even from like different point of views. So it
I,
doesn't
I,
always just have to be him.
I just learnt recently why Robert E. Howard told Conan stories in these different chunks throughout his whole span of his life was
Mm-hmm.
because he used to go to these bars and fishermen, I think it was fishermen, would tell these tales
They
and
were oilmen. They were
or
oilmen,
I
oil riggers. Yeah,
I of but and
in
they would always
Texas,
be out of oil.
Mexico.
I mean, out of
Yeah,
order. They'd be out
yeah,
of order. The
yeah,
stories, and
yeah,
so that's why he was always telling stories out of order.
yeah. Because he would pick up on these you know, just crazy stories, whether they were true or not. They were just incredible stories. And so he just, and that's the tradition of storytelling is somebody tells something and then somebody retells the something and they add and subtract and add and subtract and somebody else and keeps going. I love it. You know what I mean? That's why I have such a hard time against this notion of canon and people being very um, rigid that once something enters the canon of that character and world, there's no getting around it, and they don't even want to hear and I just reject it. I just reject it. I want to have fun. I want to be silly. I want to imagine things. And most of all, I want to escape. That's why I do what I do. I don't do it to do anything other than to escape as a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, let's tie this all together. And I cannot thank you enough for contributing CROM the Courageous, 11 pages to the upcoming CROM Anthology. Also taking the time early in the morning to get on the CROM update, your ninth one. And just so everybody knows, CROM the Barbarian is .com is where you can go and find out more of what's going on. Each one of these, if you're on YouTube, has a blog post connected to it, and you can purchase Scoundrel's Dread by Drawnsword. You can also get a copy of CROM Collected. I also have copies of where are they? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. So the Brutal Blade of CROM is fast approaching issue 2. So I'm actually going to be able to see Jamie Barrows at IC3, and we're going to have a really great time. So this is such a great collection. I don't like flipping too much. That's actually Jamie's work right there. A great collection. I call them the CROM Brotherhood, doing their own thing. Totally love and support it, and look forward to their next installment. And then this amazing ink story, Tales from the Holy Mountain, by David Moses. I've got copies of these as well. So that's what I've got. Drawnsword, do you have anything for these good people before we let them get back to reading comics, making that they choose?
Oh, just go with drawing your CROM idea if you've got one.
Yes, if you
Just
got one.
start drawing it and get into it.
Yeah, and
Um,
and reach out if you'd like to contribute in some way. Writers, pencilers, inkers, just yeah. That's the other thing too. I have. Ooh, no, where's my? I'm a little disoriented because I'm getting ready for this show, but I'll just say we have. I have 3 free comic book scripts, CROM-centric comics. One's a CROM story, and then 2 are sort of one's kind of a Viking tale, and the other one's a cool story about CROM sword. Um, so those are scripts that you can go to cromthebarbarian.com and download for free and play around with. So But yeah.
Yeah. I think Ron would probably be keen on working with someone too. I think writers can work with multiple artists,
Oh, absolutely,
and
absolutely. Yeah, he's working with James Anthony.
yeah, yeah. It sounds
Yep.
like he's
So
finished
they'll.
it. He's finished all the artwork for
Yep.
the
Yep. So they're
first
putting it
story.
together. Yep. So they'll be on talking about it
Oh, cool.
on the CROM Podcast. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, you're right. So
I
yeah, come
heard
on into the CROM community.
if you're an artist that wants a writer, I would say tell the writer what you want to draw. Tell them the
Oh yeah.
kind of things you want to draw,
Yep.
and so they can write that into the story. That's kind of an important thing because, you know, you might find some things overwhelming or just not your cup of tea.
That's for sure. But you can also see some videos of Drawnsword on his YouTube channel, which I'll have a link below. And he also has an amazing website. So I'll have that in a link below as well. But other than that, I look forward to the next time we get together and share what's going on, whether it's crime related or not. Can't thank you enough and look forward
Oh,
to it.
cheers, Kurt.